Hi everyone, I'm Sheri Hinish, also called the Supply Chain Queen, and I am thrilled to join you today as a partner at IBM to discuss women in supply chain and procurement and why diversity is critical. It's a business imperative in the future of our domain. This matters because supply chains actually employ about 37% of folks in the United States alone. And this means about 44 million people, a large percentage of those people are women, work in supply chain. Yet in terms of representation in leadership and decision making, how we form those solutions and strategy and first mile sustainability, all of the things about empowering and growing, supporting the communities where we serve, women are underrepresented. In fact, we are lagging severely in terms of gender diversity at the highest levels of organizations. You've seen reports, the Gartner report, for example, that says there's 17% representation. And some reports like McKinsey actually say that number is much lower. When you think about the future of work and think about that 37% of people working in supply chains, they demand change, a revolution, if you will, because they're willing to lead with their values in a purpose economy. And when you think about the emergence of segments like the LOHAS and the Naturalites and millennials and Gen Zers, these folks are going to make up half of the workforce in the next 5 years, and companies like yours will be forced to define where you stand in social responsibility, in diversity, equity, inclusion, in social justice. If you embrace these sorts of changes in supply chain through the lens of sustainable business and progressive change, you'll actually outperform your competitors. When I think about the future of supply chain, I'm hopeful. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it because I think there is new diversity in supply chain. And there's countless research. The business case has been made that diverse teams outperform. They are more innovative and companies are more profitable as a result. When you think about having greater ethnic and cultural diversity even, those companies, according to McKinsey's latest research, are 36% more likely to experience above average profitability compared to their counterparts. The main thing that gives me hope is that I've seen that supply chains are the conduit for change in so many ways. And I think that all of us who stand up global supply chains, we know that. There's like an unconscious competence that supply chains power the world. And when you think about some of the really complex problems that we're addressing right now, like the business model emergency that's largely extractive and linear and broken and frankly leaves people behind, think about what the future of supply chain could look like. Powered by diversity as a catalyst for innovation. When I think about the future of supply chain, it's my hope that women, like my daughter Ariana, who just turned 7 years old, this will be an accessible career path for her. I am a bold STEMinist, and I don't want other women or other underrepresented groups in this domain to have to endure a lot of the barriers that I've had to endure and people before me. And frankly, 100 years is just too long to wait for gender equality, for access, for representation, for inclusion. So the future of supply chain for me, it's equitable, it's bearable, it's viable, And it's all of the things that we know: technology, nature, human behavior, industry, working together in concert to build a bold, restorative path that maximizes the potential of all resources and all people. So when I think about the future of supply chain and why women in supply chain are so important, and I want to address this not only through the lens of gender diversity, but also cultural diversity. The reality is that we have a lot of complex problems and opportunities happening in the world right now. You can't turn on the television without hearing the words supply chain. And the business model emergency is that we have typically designed very linear processes and linear systems. And these are broken, extractive, and they leave people behind. Not only marginalized communities, but also women and underrepresented populations. I would like for supply chain to be a career path for everyone. And when I think about my own journey, I have a non-traditional career path. I didn't grow up knowing that I wanted to work in supply chain. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know what supply chain was until about 15 years ago. So just thinking about the future of this field, I hope that my daughter, Ariana, knows that supply chain is an option for her. And she won't have to endure some of the barriers and discrimination that I've had to go through in my career. And so many other women that I've met. 100 years is just too long. It's too long for gender equity, for access, for representation, and for inclusion. We all know that if you don't have to look far at research. Harvard, McKinsey puts out a beautiful report every year. We know that diversity wins. We know that diverse teams outperform their competitors. And this is through the lens of both gender and cultural diversity. So my question is, why? Time's up. The business case has been made. And as you think about exploring 2021 and beyond, in the next 5 years, millennials and Gen Zers will make up half the workforce. You have segments like the LOHAS and the Naturalites who lead with their values, and they don't want to leave those values at the door where they work. So my question to all supply chain leaders, practitioners, professionals, wherever you are in the world listening to this, where do you stand on diversity in 2021? The time is now. Make those investments. Start walking the talk. And thank you.